All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Friday stream. Bendita knew the exact second I was about to start. I hope you all are doing well. I'm trying a new setting spray, and it seems to work really well. I'll report back next week if I end up liking this combo. But it made, especially with these lights, it made my face look so shiny. I had to go run and put some powder on real quick, but hopefully I don't look like a literal, it wasn't even like glazed donut face. It wasn't like disco ball. It wasn't sweaty. It was like I had sprayed my face with like some kind of gel, more or less. Thank you, Ren. Oh, what the heck was that? I think something fell in my recycling bin. Welcome, Ren. Thank you. So you are now part of the Lupineers, and just to get, because I guess now we have that as a prompt. I don't know where Bendita's going. She's looking around to find her next relaxation spot. But just so everyone knows, we have memberships live now. You can find a membership and join by going to the little $sign in the chat, and then you can toggle memberships or membership gifting, or you can click the join button under any of my videos, and then I'll also pop up with a membership option. I turned on memberships because I want to be able to have emotes in my chat, and the only way to unlock that on YouTube is to have memberships, because they're connected to how many emotes you can have is connected to how many paying members you have. So I made them as cheap as Google will allow me to make them. It is 99 cents. It is cheaper than getting a single hard shell taco from Taco Bell if you want to be a member for a month and have access to our wonderful emotes. And also, the more people we have join, the more emotes that we can have. I have, I think, 3 more that I already have made that I haven't been able to unlock yet. I think we need like 25 more members, which is actually like that's like $20. That's like not even that many. In like 20 more bucks worth of people to be members to unlock those remaining emotes, and then I have like 3 more I want to get designed eventually, but I didn't want to overdo it. So that is what you need to know about that if you want to become a member. It is literally, I think, the best bang for your buck membership wise, just for emotes. And then, if we have members only chats and things like that, like that's also a possibility, but usually we don't need to do that. And then besides that, just sort of basics here of the live stream, as many of you probably already know, but just to say it for those who are new, this is an 18 plus only live stream, like it says right there. So if you are not at least 18, please do not be here. There's also rules and an FAQ down below if you want to check those out. I highly recommend it. We have links to resources. I say we, but me and Bandit, I guess. We have links to resources down below for commonly asked questions. And then basically the way this is set up is an interactive Q&A. I did see one person who asked, I think Shay, said, can I ask a question here? Yes, if you want to ask a question, put it in the chat. Earlier is best. Essentially what I do here is people ask questions, and I also rant sometimes about the things that are in the title of the live stream, and then we have a little back and forth conversation. And if you want to make sure I will see your question, you can either do, like, if you have the question mark emote or an emoji, like just a standard emoji, that'll help me see it. But if you want to make sure I answer your question, the best way to do that is with a super chat. So you can have a super chat and then I'll read it right away. Otherwise, I go in the order that questions come in, approximately. If there is an ongoing theme of conversation, there's follow-up questions from somebody or thoughts, I will follow along that, just so we're kind of, talking about everything following in one particular direction, and then going back, and once we've covered that, answering some more questions. But that is what you need to know. Thank you, Josh. Thank you for becoming a member. I couldn't find like a good GIF thing to put for here. I have one that I'm gonna be implementing once I have my whole stream setup updated. I'm also probably gonna get a divider screen to put behind me, and then I can decorate it and put stuff on it. It's hard to find a room divider. I thought it was gonna be easy to find one, but everyone I find used is ripped. Half destroyed. And then it's the cheapest one I could find that looked halfway decent that would be the right size was IKEA, and it's $120. And it's no, I'm not paying $120 for a rice paper screen that's probably gonna break, that I also have to assemble myself. No thank you, not happening. So I patiently wait for the day where I will be able to move on from that. But that's basically what you need to know about these live streams, more or less. And yeah, that's what you need to know about that. And so we'll go ahead and get into some questions. Usually what I have in the title of the live stream is a suggestion. So I think what did I put in there today? I put in breathplay because Pup Amp talked about that on Twitter recently. And I guess there's I'm not sure what to call it. Was it like a blackout, the blackout trend? And whenever breathplay is trending, I gotta talk about it. I have to. And then the other thing that has been on my noggin, many things in my day are inspired by tweets, to be honest with you. Many tweets. And because I don't know how many people follow me on Twitter, I'll just read this for people, so people know where I'm coming from. So there was a recent tweet, I don't think from somebody who's a kinky person. They don't have a kink platform, it's not what they use Twitter for, it seems. But they said, look, most of the sex stuff people say on the internet is fake, not real. Nobody really does that stuff. It's all promises and theater. There is a dog crate. It was expensive and mostly serves as a side table now. Look, the most degrading thing you can ever do is fall in love. And I thought that was that resonated with me, not the using the dog crate as a side table thing, but I think that idea of how your relationship with kink can change over time, and how social media presentations will give you one impression of somebody's, let's say, participation level in kink or enjoyment of kink, and how you can end up feeling bad about yourself because, well, my sex life isn't that way, my BDSM isn't that way, my DS relationship isn't that way. But it is all theater. It is all for show, not even just for themselves, but for other people. And this has been a trend I've noticed since, basically since I've been in the community. But it's always worth bringing up. And I like that last little thought of the most degrading thing you can ever do is fall in love. And I think, I've been realizing the longer I've been doing BDSM, the longer I've been doing power exchange, how true that is in some ways, especially not even just falling in love, but the intersection of romantic attachment and BDSM. For me, that's my secret sauce, that because I'm not sexually motivated to do kink. If you didn't know that about me, now you do. I'm very romantically motivated for kink. So for me, love is that's the fuel that makes kink possible. And it doesn't have to be in love, romantic love, you're the one and only person. That's one level of it, but just feeling any level of romantic attachment or affection, that's putting coins in the gumball machine to make kink happen. And once you get to a level of that, I think it makes you, at least for me, in my observation, I think it makes things that would normally be unappealing in an abstract context be if my person asked me to do that, I would do it without question. I would not even think twice because of the trust and love that's built up from that romantic connection. But then also, even in a vanilla sense, I think, especially when you're in those first stages of falling in love, you will do shit for people when you're new in love that you would do that, most people that are kinky would be that's too far. I would not do that. Of course, I move this. She's literally sleeping on top of the stand. And she's looking at me what do you want, human? What do you want, human? So snoozy. I'm always finding the funniest places to get a little snooze on. But yeah, that's those are my initial thoughts about that. I thought it was funny just because I think that's real. And also it sort of speaks to how the whole there's a dog crate, it was expensive, and then it's mostly a side table. How your relationship to kink evolves over time, like I was saying. And then also how when you get really far into kink and it becomes a lifestyle for you and it's part of your everyday relationship, suddenly becoming vanilla and doing vanilla stuff is ooh, we could go on a date to a steakhouse restaurant. And you can wear a dress with underpants on. And I can split the bill with you. And we can each pick out our own food. Where that's now that's the new taboo. Because taboo is always relative to what's normal for you. And like, I don't think kink has to be taboo for it to be kink. I think that's sort of a bad, at least for me, I don't think that's a great premise to base all of kink on, is like that it has to be like taboo and outside the mainstream. Because I think if we, like spanking is like pretty mainstream, breathplay is very mainstream, where those suddenly not going to be kink activities anymore. Like, I don't think so. So I like thinking about that, like thinking about how things affect one's relationship to kink over time and propensity to do certain activities or not. Yeah, she's very, very large right now. So imposing. I have it all the way zoomed out. She's just like, she might be here the whole time. That's fucking real. I'm still getting used to not being in DS anymore. Yeah, and that transition too. Like having, if you've been in DS, especially if it's like, you were doing DS and then you were doing it and now you're not doing it, but then maybe you're still doing other kink stuff, or maybe you're doing a poly open relationship thing and now suddenly like your person's doing kink with other people. Like there can be a lot of feelings there, and it's weird to be like, ooh, now we have this new thing going on, and our new dynamic is we're both gonna make coffee in the morning. Ooh, we're both gonna make coffee. Ooh, we're gonna share doing the laundry. Ooh, spicy. That's what that's what romance novels are made of, people. A date, that's the kinkiest thing ever. I mean, the context, the inherent vanilla eroticism of going to a public place and eating a meal normally. Oh goodness, it's very fun. Anyways, that's sort of my initial thoughts. I had like somebody that was like, and this happens sometimes on Twitter. I was mostly being hyperbolic when I was saying like the kinkiest thing that you can do is like, be in love, or like do vanilla stuff, or like be vanilla as fuck, I think is actually what I said on there. I don't literally mean that. Like, obviously, like, kink is all relative anyway, so what does it matter sort of what's kinkiest to begin with? But I mean in the sense that, like, you can become so kinky and have kink itself become so normalized that you loop back around into, like, vanilla being the taboo. But, like, what is like, if you were just writing it down on paper, obviously, like, kissing is not really considered a kink activity. So, like, there's a portion of understanding that's required contextually to make sense of what I'm trying to say with that. Thank you for becoming a member, Alex. Thank you so much. Domestic chores are sexy as fuck. To a lot of people, they are. And then suddenly you're doing them sexily. You're sexily in your maid outfit, dusting everything, and you're wearing your 1950s reproduction dress, and you're mowing. I'm vacuuming. I don't know why I said mowing. You're mowing the carpet, you're vacuuming the carpet, and then one day you look around you and go, this isn't really doing it for me anymore. What do I do about that? And that moment, I think this is, and I don't know if I made a video about this because I'm not even really sure what I would say in it, but there is that initial period of getting into kink where you are really enthusiastic about everything, not even necessarily sub-frenzy, but on that spectrum of like just new things being exciting. That could get into frenzy territory, it might not. Where you're really fueled by just like lust, your eroticism that you've been wanting to let out maybe for your entire life that you're finally getting to express. And everything is so hot and so new and so amazing. And like, there's no way this could ever not be hot because it's your favorite thing ever. And then you get to do all of the wonderful things that you want to do. And you get to finally experiment with like titles and forms of dress. And I keep talking about underpants today for some reason, but that's like, I feel like a really accessible common thing for people is that like, I have to ask permission, to wear a bra or whatever. And so on and so forth. And then you do that for 6 months. And then like before, when you first started, even just being told by a partner, like, you're going to make me dinner. And then after you serve me, you're going to be under my table and like kissing my boots while I eat. And then I'm going to be like grading your dinner performance out loud to you while I eat. Like that, like for some people, they hear that and they experience that. And it's like, oh my gosh. And it's like overwhelming. It's so intense initially. And it's like, just... what would people say? Sploosh, I guess. I don't know if that's do people with penises experience sploosh? I don't just boing and or sploosh, I suppose. You have the boing and or the sploosh. And then It's so amazing and it's so hot and so wonderful. And then, like, it's the same thing as, like, you hear old people, they're like, every day I fall in love with my spouse more and more. And, like, they have that very new experience of love for their whole relationship. But most people don't have that. And you do that for, like, 6 months or a year. And then one day you're just like, even just putting on the maid outfit before was like this intensely erotic experience, and now it's just part of my everyday routine. And I think it's Esther Perel talks about, maybe it's Emily Nagoski, but I think it's Esther Perel talks about, both of these are authors that talk about sex. I think it was Esther Perel who talked about how, like, mystique is an important part of maintaining eroticism. And so if something becomes completely normalized, for a lot of people, it loses that erotic edge. For me, that's not how I experience sex. So I don't really know what that's like. I'm just sort of speaking to what other people who are more informed than me say happens for folks. And so when it stops becoming this, mystical new thing, it loses that erotic edge. And then what you have left underneath that has to be, to me, that's when you get into the real heart of DS. Is like, I think having a sexual relationship with kink is obviously very valid, and it's something that, I don't know if the majority, but like most people maybe experience as some part of their kink, maybe if not the primary motivator, some part of it. But when you get down to it, underneath that, beyond just the, like, warm, nice, tingly genital feelings, it's that sense of devotion and duty and, wanting to express something that's true about yourself, like authenticity and deep vulnerability, and honoring that through a BDSM connection. And I think when you get down to that part, when you're really rooted in that, that's where, like, sustainable long-term BDSM comes in. Anyways, I didn't mean to rant about that, but, it's what I do. So, oh no, are my frames dropping? Oh no, okay, hopefully that was just a little one-time thing. Hopefully. Boing, 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 boing. Yeah, exactly. Because you reach to the point where you had steak every day, so to speak. Yes, it's almost like wealth creep. Like, where people are like, oh my gosh, like, having $1 million would change my life. And, like, for a lot of people it would, right? Because, like, student loan debt and car debt and being able to own a house versus having an apartment. Like, there are things in that are, like, actually change your life. But after a certain point, you think, oh my God, I'm gonna be so grateful forever. This is gonna be life changing. And then eventually you get used to, like, having a housekeeper every day. You get used to having somebody, as a personal chef, preparing all your meals and, getting to go on vacations impulsively whenever you want. And then suddenly that stops being, like, something that brings you a lot of novel and novel happiness, and it starts just being part of your everyday life. And I think, it's weird to compare long-term kink with winning the lottery, but I think that aspect of human psychology is still present in both, where just you thought this thing would make you happy forever, but then getting to experience life in that new steady state eventually caused you to, like, kind of return to wherever your base level of happiness was before. Outside of, like, obviously, again, with, like, being a millionaire, and winning the lottery, there's all those, like, stress relieving aspects of it, especially for debt and, like, home ownership and, like, just security, that's really, really valuable. And of course, especially with winning the lottery, you have to deal with, like, family problems and people trying to rob you and, like, stressing about money management. Like, there's new things that go with that also add to life stress. But with kink, it's that similar thing of, there can be a lot of benefits to engaging in kink, like getting to fully express yourself sexually, I think is really important for a lot of people. I think getting to be your authentic self with partners is really important for people. And so when you get those base needs met, anything beyond that is, like, temporary, really sky high, like, mountain moment, and then eventually you find your new steady state after a certain period of enjoyment. I think actually this is probably why people that do bedroom only kink occasionally, like people who only do it like a couple times a year, people who don't have a 24/7 DS relationship but do it, maybe on, like, special occasions, a long weekend, when the kids are out of the house. I think that can be why for them, like, the novelty and the spiciness of kink can last for so much longer, because it's not part of their everyday life and it doesn't become part of their routine. It stays being a spicy thing, right? But yeah, those are my thoughts about that. Thing is, though, my love for my wife has increased since we stopped because it taught us so much about each other, new perspective on everything. That's a fair point. I think that speaks to kind of what I was saying about how there are these baseline positive effects from like getting to be authentic, getting to be vulnerable with a partner, fully expressing yourself sexually, being seen by somebody else. Those kind of stack on top of your baseline, but it goes from sort of like, let's say here is like, I'm full of shame about my kink and I hate myself because of it and I think I'm horrible and awful and I'm a little worm boy. And then you skyrocket up to like, I finally found a femdom who like wants to be in a lifestyle relationship with me and it's amazing and awesome and fantastic and nothing will ever take me off of this cloud nine experience. And then like 2 years later you're like, it's okay, it's pretty good, but like I have other things that I want to do that make me happy in life too. So you get that kind of bonus from baseline, especially if kink is part of your identity or if it teaches you a lot about somebody from a bonding perspective. Then that's sort of that as a permanent stack. You get like a permanent +2. You get a permanent +2 stat boost, not a +10. If I had to put it in more D&D terms, but yeah. It can do, and that's like another thing too. Like kink can be part of your journey. DS can be part of your journey, but it doesn't have to be your journey forever. And if you choose to walk away from it, especially if you're doing it in like a healthy way, and it's not just like we blew up at each other and we ripped up our contract because we fought about something and we were mad at each other. Like if you're doing it in a way where you're honestly reflecting on like, does our relationship need this right now? And the honest answer is no. And you're listening to that. Like that's like so healthy for a relationship. And a lot of people can't do that because they're so stuck in just maintaining the DS at any cost. And I've seen that go very badly for people more than once, unfortunately. It does happen. Almost like it makes you grow as a person. I think you might be onto something there. I think you might be onto something there. Curious. 10 out of 10, no makeup. Oh boy, am I about to ruin your illusion because I definitely have makeup on right now. Not very much, but I do have some on. Listen, I can't be in front of these lights having nothing on my skin. I like the ghost look, but I don't want to jump scare anybody. I don't want to jump scare anyone. But let's find some more questions. I know I saw at least earlier on in the stream. I want to make sure I get to that before we get too far into it. But ask away if you have any questions. Essentially, just don't spam the chat. Be polite. Don't ask me, super personal questions. I'm not going to give you medical advice. But outside of that, ask whatever you want. It can be kink related, DS related. It could be polyamory related, dating apps. Anything, sex relationships, BDSM, or just random stuff if you have a burning random question. Ooh, I'm so excited. After months of planning, our house upgrades are finally started. Studio lights installed and working. Ooh, big moves. Love that for you. That is the house. I have had to live through house renovations many a time. It is a long, stressful process, and hopefully that goes well because heaven knows whenever you have house upgrades, renovations, it always takes 10 times longer than you think it actually will. Oh, there's a lady with a Pomeranian sitting on the waiting couch outside of the vet clinic. He, she, they, the Pomeranian might be non-binary, was very beautiful and kept looking at me and smiling. They do have a beautiful little smile. I don't think that dogs smile the way that humans do. I think you asked a question about that. If we have a members only jacket, will it also work? I don't think I can give you anyone jackets, but I like that idea in general. But I don't think dogs smile the way that humans do, like for happiness. I interpret it as being happy and content, but usually it's just especially for Pomeranians and small dogs, it's usually because like they have soft tracheas and it's easier for them to breathe mouth open than just through their nose to be able to get enough oxygen. So usually that's why they have their mouth open. But I like to believe that there's a little bit of contentment in there. I love how beautiful your long nails are. Thank you. I know I have I had a weightlifting accident last week, like 4 or 5 days ago. I had a weightlifting accident. I was deadlifting, and obviously when you deadlift, or at least I don't know if every deadlift is this way, but you try to bring the bar as like close to your legs as possible when you're lifting. You're trying to stay in a straight line as you're going up and down, just in case you don't know how deadlifting works. And when I was like halfway through a set, and I just increased my weight, and I think I was lifting, I think it was like 105 or 110. It wasn't a crazy weight or anything, but like that's what my working weight is for deadlifts right now. I could lift more. I just don't push it on deadlifts because I'm not interested in injuring my back. But anyways, that's not really that important. The point is, it was like a heavy amount of weight, and I scraped my while I was lifting up, my pinky nail got caught on my leggings, and it ripped. It ripped in the pink part of the nail, so not the free edge. It ripped like here, so I had to go to Ulta at like 7 a.m. the next day and get a nail repair kit. And it actually worked pretty well, but like I thought I was like, maybe I should just cut it, but it was so like it's like this like far down my nail is like where it ripped, which like unless I have something covering it, which is what like the nail repair kit does, it basically creates like an epoxy, something like that, or like a gel over the rip so it doesn't keep ripping. And like it was very painful. It was not fun at all. So RIP weightlifting. I'll never forgive you. Never forgive you deadlifts. Which is funny because I was debating. I was like, I don't have full time to be at the gym right now. I can either choose to do a hip thrust and do a couple of hip thrusts, or I can do deadlifting, and I chose deadlifting. And I should have. It would have happened eventually, I think, especially with my nails being so long. Now that I know that that's possible. I should have chosen the hip thrust. It was a thing. But this is my like secret weapon for my nails. Not just because it's green and black, all right. This is legitimately the best and only nail repair serum I've ever used. I've used like 6 different brands. This is the only one that I've ever used that actually works. It fully absorbs into your nail. It doesn't leave any kind of varnish behind. This is so good. It's so worth it. You can get it at Sally's, Ulta, wherever. Not sponsored. Legitimately, if you have any problems with your nails, this works by basically increasing the like structural integrity of your nails from the inside, and it legitimately works. I wish I had a before and after picture to show you, but like my nails, when I started using this in like February, maybe it was like March, were terrible. They were so bad. They were really fragile. Like I could not grow them out basically at all, and they would peel and they would chip, and I couldn't do anything for them. And this has saved my nails. So this is responsible for like a big chunk of why my nails are the way they are. But that's like the one thing I'd recommend if you want to have fun, strong nails. It was very painful. It was not fun. Wouldn't recommend. I'm glad that it wasn't like anything, like it could have been a lot worse, honestly. But luckily it was just, I was pulling up on the deadlift when it got caught. So it wasn't as bad. Like if I had been lifting a lot heavier, it probably would have been worse. And to be honest, I'll take it over a soft tissue injury deadlifting. So like, I'll count my blessings because ultimately my nails grow back. Back injury is kind of permanent. So it is what it is. All right. Oh, is there new Zelda? Wait, when did that happen? When's there? I don't keep up. Is there a new Zelda game that came out? The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom? Is that what it is? It's a cute little cartoony one. It looks kind of like Legos, but like non-copyright infringing Legos. Cute. Well, enjoy your game. I like to watch other people play Zelda games, but I don't play Zelda games. They are good for scratching. Listen, the nails serve a practical purpose, all right? They're not just for show. They are for practical purposes. Imperial measures confuse me in metric. Oh, I don't know what that would be in kilos. I'm gonna guess it's somewhere in the ballpark of like 50 or 60 kilos from top of my head, but I'll try to oh yeah, it's 50 kilos, which is like a little bit above body weight for me. It's like I'm 48 kilos. Yeah, like 48, 47. So that gives you the 99% of the world besides the United States that uses other forms of measurement. Hopefully that helps. So I don't know the nail part. Oh, here. It is the, first of all, sorry about your migraine. That is terrible. Migraines suck. It is the OPI repair mode is what it's called. OPI repair mode. You can get it at Ulta. You can get it at Sally's Beauty. I don't know if they have it at Sephora. I would guess probably not. And you actually get it at a lot of drugstores too, if they stock OPI nail products. So, OPI nail repair. It's in a black and green bottle. It's about 10 mils. I know the rule of thumb I have is it's basically half. So yes, I am aware of I know it's 2.2, but I do about half because I don't want to have to deal with the 0.2. It is a cozy chat. We got a nice little group here. Everyone's vibing. We occasionally get people who come in, they're like, debate me in the marketplace of ideas, but usually not. And even then, we handle them with kindness, or we try to at least. Look at that little fur ball. She is a little fur ball. She's like my little cheese puff. She would love cheese puffs. Oh my god. She'd crunch cheese flavor. She'd go crazy for it. There's a play party this Saturday, and I messed up the registration, and I messaged my potential reference, and she's super nice, but doesn't actually remember me for the munches. Oh no, I'm too new. I need to go to more munches, and I'll try for the next one. I've got a good weekend plan now, though. Well, I'm glad that you have new weekend plans. That is disappointing when original plans don't work out, but I guess you gotta go back to more munches, I suppose. That's kind of funny, though. I'm glad you realized it now before you showed up to the party, and then the registration didn't work, because that would be more embarrassing, like trying to get into a party. No, really, I promise. I did sign up. Here's my email. My reference doesn't remember me, but I swear I meant to some random stranger. Yeah, that could be, that could definitely turn out way worse, Alex, but hopefully you get that sorted out for next time. Always good to ask people before you have them be a reference. I think that's a good rule of thumb, because then you know for sure that they're going to remember you. I'm still new to being poly. And I have found that I'm okay with my daddy dom having other partners, but not so much with my romantic partners because it feels like I'm not good enough. How do I navigate this? Okay, good question. So we got polyamory. It sounds like we have maybe at least some BDSM, maybe some DS in there. Daddy dom having other partners, but not so much with my romantic partners. Okay, so there's daddy dom, that's one person. And dating other people is fine. Maybe that's not also a romantic relationship. Maybe it's just a BDSM thing. And then you have romantic partners that also can see other people, but then when they do, that causes feelings of inadequacy. That's super common. Definitely a thing that a lot of people experience, especially that feeling of like, I am not good enough. I'm not going to measure up. Other people are better than me. I'm going to be replaced. All of those feelings are super common in all kinds of polyamory, all kinds of open relationships. And a lot of the traditional advice for polyamory revolves around like not burdening your partners with your emotions. And I think we're moving away from that. If you read books about polyamory that give advice about jealousy, it's usually like, you have to find security and safety inside yourself and like work on it alone. And that's a very like individualist way of looking at it, which I don't generally like or agree with. For me, like how I deal with my own issues of, like, if I have a feeling of inadequacy, one, if it's a securely attached relationship and I trust that person, which hopefully I do if they're a long-term romantic partner, like I will simply check in with them and be like, hey, this is what I'm feeling, and like this is what's going on, and if there's something that you can specifically ask from them, you can do that. So one is, I think, let's back up for a second before I get into that. I guess, okay, so you feel like you're not good enough. That's like, an uncomfortable emotion to sit with, but I think if you can do it, it's helpful to dig down more into what that means exactly, like not good enough, how, and then what specifically is happening that's bringing up those emotions. Is it that they're spending more time with other people? Is it that they're talking to you less? Is it that you feel like you're not getting enough date nights in? Is it because like you perceive that they're like happier with this person? Like what's going on, and can any of those things be rectified? Because for example, if it's like, I don't feel like I'm good enough because since you started to date this new person, I feel like we hang out less. Like that's a very actionable thing that you can easily talk about and change, because you can go to that person. You can say, hey, I am happy for you that you have this new person that you're excited about, or just going on dates in general. I feel like I need to spend more time with you. If you're available for that, can we find some way to, meet in the middle on our schedules and find more time to spend together? Even if it's not in person, maybe we have a video chat once a week for like an hour or two. We play video games together. We go for a walk together. We do something together to have that more in-person bonding time to reassure me that I'm still important to you and that like I'm still somebody you want to have in your life. And hopefully if they care about you, they can meet you on that in some way, shape, or form, and if they can't, then it's going to be for a good reason. Like they work 80 hours a week and they have like 3 kids under the age of 10 and then they live like an hour away. Like there may be structural things in place that make that less possible, but there are things that you can ask for if you dig down into it and you realize those things are there that can be changed. And I think, asking for verbal reassurance is also okay. Again, this is something that like kind of older books about polyamory will be like, don't burden your partners with your feelings. I think it's okay to ask for some kind of reassurance or some kind of check-in. Like, you can ask, like, it's, don't be like, do you love me? Do you love me? Like, be a mature adult about what you ask for. Like there's cloying and demanding, and then there's like reasonable asking of reassurance. Like you can say, what would really help me feel better when you go on a new date is like, once you're done and you're heading home, can you just text me that you're thinking about me and that you hope that I had a good night? And sometimes just knowing that you're still an important person in that, individual's life is enough to solve a lot of issues, because even though they're on a date, they're not forgetting about you, and it's less likely to feel like you are being replaced that way. We have a super chat here from Andrew. I'll just read that real quickly, but then I have more I want to say about this question first. So, unfortunately, LOL, physical attraction is a lot of my fulfillment in play. Is it ever good to set aside your attraction and just play for the sake of play? Ooh, is it good? That's a really interesting framing of it. I will definitely get to that, Andrew. I want to keep going down this line of thought that I'm currently on, and then we will get to that. All right, let's see. What was I on? Yes. Asking for reassurance is also like totally valid. And a big part of it too is, I think initially whenever someone starts seeing a new person, that first period is the scariest, because the other people or person is totally unknown to you. Like they could be like the love of this person's life. They could be completely destructive and untrustworthy, and they could like implode a bunch of relationships and be super messy. Like they could be anywhere in the spectrum of like terrible person, life-ruining person, over to like the best person ever who's clearly better than you. And that can be a very it can cause a lot of big feelings because the other person's so unknown. But hopefully over time, as you are able to find ways to feel secure in your relationship with this person through reassurance, through spending time together, you'll be able to reassure your brain consciously that like, look, they're seeing somebody new. We're still seeing each other. My needs are still getting met in terms of time, affection, texting, bonding activities we do together. Those needs are all still being met. So I'm not being replaced because, I'm still getting to do everything that I want to do with this person. So therefore everything is fine and my brain can start to calm down. But that's really difficult to do. So I am once again going to pull out the Bible of emotions. Secondarily, I will recommend a book I don't have a physical copy of because it's on my Kindle, but there are 2 books, and I'll put the names in the chat. It's by Jessica Fern, Polysecure, and Polywise. Polysecure is the first one I would start with, and that talks about attachment and just like attachment and building healthy relationships. But specifically, DBT. You know what it is, DBT Skills Training Handouts and Worksheets by Marsha M. Linehan, the Bible of what to do. And I love this because if you are highly activated, if you are neurodivergent, if you are a member of the Spicy Brain community, this is a really great guide to have, because it's not like a book where it's like vague, nebulous advice. It gives you step-by-step instructions on what to do and how to do it. So what I would recommend for this is, one, if you're feeling really highly distressed, looking at the distress tolerance skills in this book, which is like the very back section here, the distress tolerance skills. I usually like to recommend, let me see if I can find like a specific skill to like recommend. So this is, I guess I'll talk about, this is like one of the distress tolerance skills, is like radical acceptance. I don't think I've talked about this on the stream before. This is gonna be new information. I actually went through and I bookmarked this specifically so if I was on stream, it would be easier to reference stuff that I use a lot. So radical acceptance, this is like a more advanced skill, but I think the concept of it is important. Radical acceptance is when you cannot keep painful events and emotions from coming your way. So obviously, like if you're polyamorous, if you want your partners to keep dating other people, the painful event of experiencing jealousy and insecurity is going to keep happening. So we have to radically accept what is happening. So number one, radical means all the way, complete and total. It is accepting in your mind, your heart, and your body. It's when you stop fighting reality. That's like the key piece of this, is just accepting the fact that in this case, right, partners dating other people, and they are going to keep doing so because you're polyamorous. Stop throwing tantrums because reality is not the way you want it, and let go of bitterness. And then also Rin said, I think part of it is not wanting to be replaced. My last boyfriend blamed me for not being good enough when he cheated. Oh, Rin, I'm so sorry. First of all, that's a fucking lie. Because, and I hope you know that, and I know, like, even if you know that consciously and intellectually, it's hard to accept that because, like, that's the reason they're giving you. Cheaters suck. It's not about you not being good enough. They're not a good enough person to not cheat. That's the actual truth of that. Just plain and simple. Like, there's no excuse for cheating. No excuse whatsoever. Just, if you don't want to be with that person anymore, just break up with them. Duh. Just duh. Radical acceptance is my favorite DBT skill. Acceptance is so important in life. Yes. And I think, honestly, for me at least, like just reading this and almost like getting permission from the book that this is like the way to navigate life is like so helpful. Because other people will tell you not to do this, like implicitly, because it's so painful. But it is like, this is the path. So what has to be accepted? Reality is as it is. There are limitations of the future for everyone. Everything has a cause, and life can be worth living even with painful events within it. So, why do we want to accept reality? Rejecting reality does not change reality. Changing reality requires first accepting reality. Pain cannot be avoided. It is nature's way of signaling that something is wrong. Rejecting reality turns pain into suffering. Refusing to accept reality can keep you stuck in unhappiness, bitterness, anger, sadness, shame, and other painful emotions. Acceptance may lead to sadness, but deep calmness usually follows. The path out of hell is through misery. By refusing to accept the misery that is part of climbing out of hell, you fall back into hell. So that's like, it's very intense. But this is what worksheet is. Distress tolerance handout 11. And I think, not to presume that you're not accepting what's happening, but I think a lot of people make their pain even greater because they don't want to accept that that is what's happening. And that, like, it is possible that, like, this person could find somebody else that they're really into and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to find, like, this actually is not even what I wanted necessarily to look at. This is what I wanted. There's a lot of, like, self-soothing skills. And the reason why I'm recommending this is because it's really hard to do anything else unless you're, like, not emotionally activated. So there's sort of, like, you can do, like, the acronym for it is accepts. You can do, like, this is distress tolerance handout 7. This is, like, how we can go through a bunch of steps to, like, help ourselves calm down and feel better without just telling ourselves, calm down, this is stupid, I shouldn't be emotional. There's also, like, self-soothing skills using your senses. Generally, more senses, more things you can do at the same time is better. So, de-escalate from really intense emotions. Accept what the reality is. And then, finally, this is the part I normally talk about. This is my favorite part. This is my favorite part of DBT because I find it so useful. Is we go to checking the facts. Ta-da! This is emotion regulation handout number 8. Check the facts. Plus, also, I share this because this book is expensive and therapy is expensive as fuck. You can get a Kindle version of this. You can get an app for it. You can get DBT work cards. You can get lots of stuff. But I like to share this because I know like therapy is very inexpensive. This kind of DBT work with someone who has very severe misconceptions about what therapy is and can be. Well, it's not CBT, so I don't... unluckily with radical acceptance, forgiveness isn't needed. Yeah, that's true. Yes, and also there's also an online PDF version. If you Google, the reason I'm giving you the names and numbers is because if you look up DBT emotional regulation handout 8, there is almost always a free digital copy of this somewhere on the internet. So we go through and we check the facts and we ask ourselves, what's the emotion? What event prompted the emotion? So let's say, I keep going back to this, I don't know if this is actually what happened, but let's say I felt, and you can go through, you have to first identify, so like I would say like fear of rejection, that's sort of like maybe a combination of like fear and sadness would probably be the first two I would go to. And you can look up what the word, oh, there's also just jealousy. You can also just look at jealousy. So like, let's see, I feel jealous. What event prompted that emotion? You know, my partner went on a date with a new person and I am having big feelings about that. And then you think about what your interpretations and thoughts are about that event. What does that mean, right? What are your assumptions? You know, they're having a fantastic time. He likes me more. He likes them more than he likes me. You know, are you assuming threat? What's the catastrophe? You know, what could actually really go wrong? And then you check to see if that emotion fits the facts. I'm going to say that feeling jealous when your partner goes on a date, even when it's consensual, that probably fits the facts. But then we have to evaluate after we've decided that it fits the facts. We have to go to deciding what to do with our emotions. I'm going to teach everyone in my audience, like, how to check the facts and, like, evaluate their emotions. That's, like, it's going to be my whole thing, like, for the next, this is, like, the only thing. So when we go to jealousy, this is emotional regulation, handout number 11. I honestly, to me, in my mind, you can buy workbooks that are all about dealing with jealousy. You can buy all kinds of books that are about jealousy. But honest to God, I think you really just need this. To me, this is my Bible. This is everything. I really think you just need to be able to follow this. So, jealousy fits the facts. When someone is threatening to take a very important and desired relationship or object away from you, or an important and desired relationship is in danger of being damaged or lost. Now, we have the fear of that happening, and it is technically possible that by dating other people, somebody could find someone else to be with. But acting on our emotional urges for jealousy usually means that if we act on the emotion of jealousy, we want to cut and run. We want to cut the other person off. We want to disengage from them. We don't want to be close to them because we're afraid of getting hurt. We want to look for a lot of details. We want to snoop around. You know, we might either get totally detached or we might overly monitor and try to basically, be on the date with them and demand a lot of untoward attention. But if we want to act in a way that is more productive, we can do all the way opposite actions for jealousy, which is to stop spying or snooping, so no asking really probing questions, no avoiding, so listening to details, like listening about what happened on the date, listening to what feelings they had about that person, if they want to go on a second date or not, taking all the information around you, change your posture while you're doing this, so allow your body to relax, because if you are in a state physically where your body's really tense, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to actually have that radical acceptance that you need to have of what the situation is. And then slowly breathe and allow yourself to be calm. I would also say on top of this too, because there's jealousy, there's a fear of loss, there's sadness in there, there's other emotions going on too. I would say that I would, in addition, as opposed to if you're somebody who tends to more if I'm really distressed, and I feel really jealous, I'm the first one to cut somebody off and I try to stop talking to them because engaging hurts me more. I would invest more. I would ask for more time. I would like try to talk to them more and not like run away from them, essentially, if that helps. But jealousy is a really, really big emotion. It's a really big experience and something that we're not really taught how to deal with well at all in society. And it's unfortunate because we don't have to be, controlled. We don't have to be controlled by our jealousy. We don't have to allow our feelings of jealousy to control someone else. And yeah. That's, I think, essentially what I would say. I think really, like, if you're in a place where you are feeling like I'm worried that I'm, like, especially if you have, like, actual, like, I'm not going to call it trauma for you, but you've had a traumatic experience where somebody cheated on you, and that was, like, recently, it sounds like. You had somebody cheat on you, you're trying this new relationship style, this person that you want to be with is dating other people and seeing other people. That's a lot of really big steps to do all at once. I think learning how to feel secure and trusting in your relationships is really important. And so being able to get that reassurance from other people that, like, you are wanted, they do want to spend time with you, that you are enough by yourself, that is valid to want to hear from other people. I think that actually can be helpful, especially if it then is followed up with, like, the practice of, like, actually seeing them actually, still expressing affection for you, not just doing it in a perfunctory way. And over time, that'll give you more confidence. But especially with, like, something recently, like an ex that cheated on you, that's going to require more work to be able to get through that. But I wish you well. Hopefully that helped answer your question. But yeah, essentially, just to kind of boil it down again to some quick points, dig down to what's causing that feeling. Try to be in a place emotionally where you feel, like, stable and not activated. Try to evaluate what brought up the emotion and pay attention to what those urges are from your emotions. If you feel like you're not good enough, do you feel like you want to overly monitor, or do you want to completely cut off and run away? Whatever that is, if you want to build and maintain the relationship, doing the opposite of that emotional urge will guide you in the right direction. So if the emotion is telling you snoop, spy, look at their text messages, insist on hanging out whenever they're around each other, don't do that. And if you want to completely, like, cut away and pretend like it doesn't hurt you, but then, like, cry in the bathroom, do the opposite of that, which is usually getting close to your partner and talking to them about how you feel. I have found for myself in secure relationships and healthy relationships that, especially in polyamory, people honor vulnerability. Oh my gosh, thank you, Twixie. Twixie gifted 10 memberships to viewers. Thank you, Twixie. Yay! We have, I don't know how many we have at this point. I think we're at 30 something maybe. Thank you so much. That's so wonderful. Oh shoot, before Aaron left, I forgot to tell him to, like, say hi to Lexi and hope that she's doing okay. But now we have more Lupineers, so thank you. We're also going to get a lot of notifications of people becoming members. But thank you, that was so nice. So, as I was saying, jealousy is difficult, but it is an emotion that we can work through. And in secure relationships, I found that people really, if you're having a tough time, I find that healthy relationships, people will honor and validate those tough emotions if you're honest about them and you express them in a honest but not overbearing manner. If that makes sense, as like a balancing act of, like, hey, this is what happened, this is how I'm feeling, maybe a behavior you'd want to see from that person, and then what you can offer them and, like, how that would help you, right? So again, what I was talking about with, like, if you want reassurance after, like, going on a date, right? I had these feelings that came up after you went on a date. I still really want you to keep seeing people. That seems like a really positive thing for me, and it seems like a positive thing for you. I don't want to take that away. But I am feeling really intense emotions, and I think this is what it's rooted in. And what would really help me is if you could do this thing, right? You could text me after you're done with a date and just tell me that you're thinking about me. And then maybe afterwards, maybe the next day or something, we can have a phone call or time together. And then, I'll feel more connected to you. And then that'll help me feel more secure, and then I'll feel more confident, going forward into this new relationship style. And 9 times out of 10 for me, if it's a healthy relationship, the person will be very affirming. They'll be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for telling me. It's almost like it's a way of bringing the relationship closer, actually, to express that feeling of like, hey, I'm having this big feeling and I want you to know about it. With the right person, they will see that and be like, oh my gosh, that took a lot of bravery to be willing to tell me that you're having these feelings that are really scary. So let me like help you with that. Let me honor that vulnerability by meeting you in a place that feels good for you, give you the reassurance that you want because I want to build up this relationship. Some people are not good at dealing with like, oh my gosh, like you're jealous and, that means you're not really supposed to be polyamorous and like, you can't stop me, stop trying to control me. Like, that's not a healthy relationship. But for at least in my adult experience with good people, they want to know what those emotions are when they can see that something is probably wrong or might be potentially upsetting. And they want to know what they can do to help you feel better and to know when you are experiencing those things as opposed to just putting up a wall. So hopefully that helps. But I also recommended, yes, everyone gets emotes now. Everyone has emotes. So that's essentially what I do. Let's get to Andrew's question, which was, physical attraction is a big part of kink, and at least for their kink. Is it ever a good idea to set that aside and like just play for the sake of play? I think it really. What did I just do? Accidentally popped out something in my OBS. Oh, thank you, Hellhound. He gave a membership to a strict evil sadist. Thank you so much. Yes, so is it ever a good idea? I think it really depends on you as a person and what you're willing to do. So for me, as a kinky person, like attraction is not really that important to me. I will definitely play with people that I like, sexual attraction is not really a thing for me to begin with. So that's like basically not there. But like, I don't require having a romantic attraction to someone to play either. But I do want there to be some level of chemistry, whatever that means. And chemistry may or may not mean physical attractiveness, because there have been people that are physically attractive to me, like aesthetically speaking, that I have talked to about doing a scene with, and then be like, oh no, bad idea, and then I don't play with them because I don't fully lead myself with that. But I think it's okay to do that. But if your heart wouldn't be in it because you're not experiencing the emotions you need to feel towards someone to play with them the way that you like to play, I think you might be doing yourself a disservice by doing it as a routine thing. I think trying it out and just being willing to see like, hey, I have this one kind of play I really, really enjoy. I maybe want to try doing it with more people or different types of people I don't normally play with. And I just want to see how it goes, just as an experimental thing. And you might end up being surprised that you can enjoy that kink in maybe a different way than you normally would, even without that basis of like physical attraction. But again, I make a distinction between physical attraction and like chemistry. If you're not feeling a connection with the person at all, if you're not feeling like you could communicate with each other, if it feels awkward, if it feels stilted to talk to them, that's probably not a potential partnership for play I would pursue. I would stick to playing with people that even if you're not into them physically, still you feel like we would have a good rapport in the scene, essentially, if that makes sense to delineate between those two. How do we gift the person? If you're doing a gift, I don't know if you can gift to specific people on YouTube. I think if you just gift a membership, it'll go to a random person in the chat that's currently on the chat. I think. I'm not sure. I think on Twitch you can gift to specific people, but I don't know if that happens on YouTube or not. But I'll just keep an eye in case there's anything else they want to add. But jealousy is a big one. So let me get to the next question here. Lem Lamanders. I'm going to go with Lamanders. Asked, tomorrow I will probably sleep for the first time with a guy I recently met. Ooh, I'm nervous because he identifies himself as homoflexible and I'm a woman. Any advice to not feel less than guys? Ooh, this is a big one. So you recently met them. I'm assuming, did they have any previous experience with women at all? Or are they just like 90% gay, 10% straight, experimenting with the straight part? Any advice to not feel less than guys? I mean, honestly, I would probably lean into the fact that like, you are offering a very unique experience. It's so interesting because I think like uniqueness is something that people like going back to polyamory, like a lot of people think a lot about that. Like, I want something to be special between us. I don't want to be like anyone else that you're seeing. I want to have a special relationship with you, which I think is always the case to a certain extent. But I hadn't thought about that before, that like if you're dating somebody who's like, you know, has a fluid or flexible sexuality, or they're bisexual but have experience more with one gender than the other, that could get into territory of like, oh, well, they normally only like this kind of thing, but they're making an exception for me, and that's not really what they prefer. I could definitely, like, I would recognize that as a potential thought that could happen. That is one of the possibilities, so that they just like prefer men in general and they think less of women. But I would also think about like, what are the other possibilities that's going into this experience? Like, why else might they choose you? Think of as many reasons as you can. Like, you know, obviously there's a level of attraction that you're actually so attractive to them that you're kind of going above and beyond like what their normal preference is. Like, you're actually like more desirable than the average woman to them in that way. And that you're going to have a very unique experience together that you've never had before, and that they might not have ever had before, or maybe have only had on a rare occasion. So that's like unique and special. I would probably lean into, if it was me, I would just lean into like embracing that idea of like, ooh, we're going to have a really novel experience together that's new for each of us. And also, like, do we need to be anyone's like best, like most compatible sexual partner, especially the first time we sleep with someone? Like, probably not. Like, it's really hard to be someone's like best sex ever. Like, that's, you can't keep doing that your whole life. You get to like 30, 40 years old, that's not going to happen anymore. But you know, it's about, I think, focusing on the positive parts of the experience and not worrying about like being less than. Like, you're not in a lineup with them, you're not being directly compared, you're your own unique thing. And again, it goes back to, I think you can also like ask for reassurance about like, hey, you know, I'm still really looking forward to tomorrow. You know, I'm having like this is kind of embarrassing, but I'm having this kind of like insecure feeling about, you know, maybe previous things. So you have to handle it delicately because it can come across like homophobia, but like, I don't think that's, from what you're communicating to me, I don't think that that's what you mean at all. But just like, you know, I'm feeling insecure that I might not compare to like other people that you've had sex with. And hopefully they can give you some reassurance about, you know, again, this is, it's a new experience between the two of you that's going to be novel in and of itself, and it's not a comparison, you know, between one person and the other. I think fixating on being like the best or one of the best, you know, that somebody's ever had is inevitably going to lead to frustration most of the time. I think also part of it too is probably the security in yourself aspect of like, you know, do you, like, your opinion ultimately matters more, and do you feel like you're less than guys? Well, no. Okay, well then you're probably not actually. Like, are you actually less than? No. Do you have any evidence of that? No. So don't listen to the thought that's not based in reality, I guess. It's sort of a weird choice to have to make. I know it's contrary to what I think we would normally do, and it is hard to let go of thoughts like that, but yeah. I feel like there is another book I want to recommend that like talks about this a little bit, like feeling like overcoming feeling less than other people. But I can't remember exactly what book talks about this. I'm gonna see if it's, honestly, it's probably Sexual Intelligence by Dr. Marty Klein, which I have an e-copy of. I don't have a physical copy of it. But it's on my roster of typical book recommendations. Sexual Intelligence by Marty Klein. And honestly, that's probably, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's one of my favorite books that talks about sex and relationships. And the reason why I like it so much is because the whole focus of the book, like literally his thesis statement of like, this is why I'm doing this, is to break down the walls of what is seen as normal and fixating on normal or achieving certain like physical things, like I want to be harder, I want to be able to go for longer, I want to be able to have big orgasms, I want to be somebody's best ever sexual partner. Like, the whole book is really about breaking down the need to be normal and the need to compare to other people and like why that can be destructive. So instead of focusing on, am I going to be better than other people, am I going to be as good as this man is, by the way, it's not homophobia, just plain insecurity. Oh, to be clear, I never said that what you were saying seemed homophobic. I'm just saying, like, if you say that, like, I'm insecure about, like, not being good as the men you've slept with, like, some people might take that as, like, a homophobic statement. Like, you know, I don't know. But I didn't get that impression, that you were doing that. Nails might have been breaking so much recently. Again, OPI repair mode. I literally keep it by my desk. OPI repair mode. That I can almost guarantee you will fix your nails from breaking unless you do something silly like I did. Unless you don't pay attention to where your nails go, and then, science happens. But yeah, I think it's about, like, intentionally choosing to shift focus. Like, if I was in a position where I was really anxious about, like, I'm worried that I'm not going to live up to this other person's expectations, like, well, why are you worried about living up to somebody else's expectations? This is like a shift in focus I've had in the last, like, 2 years, I'd say, especially the last, like, couple of months, is like, why are we all so focused on, like, how other people see us, and that, oh no, like, they're not going to think I'm good enough. They're not going to think that I compare to other people they've been with. They should be worried about me. They should be worried about making me happy. I should be worried about doing what I want to do. Like, that's what I should be focusing. That's what I should spend my energy on. And, like, insecurity is difficult. Like, it's really easy to get stuck in it. But I think if you shift the focus from, like, not comparing to other people to, like, okay, I know that I'm a good person. I know that I, meet, like, the ability to do certain sexual activities I want to be able to do. The baseline is there. Why am I so worried about impressing them versus focusing on what would bring me pleasure and what I want to do, and focusing on getting my own needs met in the experience? Because ultimately, that's what's most important. Is, are you going to be able to have the experience that you want to be having? Are you going to get your needs met? Are you going to satisfy yourself? Because the other person, it's their job to get their needs met. It's their job to advocate for themselves and come to the table in that negotiation and establishing consent process to say, this is what I like, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm attracted to, whatever. And if you're getting your needs met and they're getting their needs met, and those things are compatible and they flow between the two of you, that's what really matters, ultimately. I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. I recommend the nail repair to all people of all genders. I think anyone can use it. It's not even like girly packaging. It's black and green. This is, I don't know if men are afraid of nail treatments, but nail health is important, okay? Even if you got working hands, if you work on cars for a living, if you're in construction, if you garden a lot, honestly, it doesn't matter. I recommend using it for anyone who beats up their hands and or nails. TBH. Is there a cat? I don't know what that is saying. A cat what? That's like my font's too small. I can't see it. Is there a cat cam? It's a dog camera, but she does kind of look like a cat. No, it's my doggo. She's Bendita. She is very floofy, and she likes to nap. The end. I'm gonna use it. I work in a warehouse. Oh yeah, if you're doing any kind of manual labor, you're probably gonna want that. You dip your hands in, you have to wash your hands 50 times a day, 100 times a day, because you work in food service or whatever. Probably probably gonna want something to have your nails up to speed. Anyways, I hope that advice was like halfway decent. I don't actually know if I like helped at all with talking about insecurity, because like this is something that I really struggle with, and I haven't found like this is the one pathway that like absolutely works for like dealing with insecurity. For me, the recipe that works for dealing with insecurity is some kind of hodgepodge of like consciously like shifting my focus, challenging like cognitive distortions if I have any, and seeking reassurance from my partners if I feel like that would be beneficial or I need that, and then like focusing on like myself and not focusing on as much of like somebody else's perception of like me compared to other people. But it's hard to let go to that. What were we talking about? Well, I'm used to being with men. He's not used to being with women. So is it about, okay, help me understand this more. Because to me, again, like I was saying at the beginning, it's like, well, if he hasn't been with women very often, that's kind of an inherently like novel experience. And I think that by itself kind of like elevates it. But maybe are you worried about him expecting something from your physical performance that like men would be able to give that you think that you can't for some reason? Because otherwise, I'm not really sure, like, I'm not sure exactly how that would play out differently, I guess. Help me understand. I want to help. Insecurity is a constant thing. I think systems are always breaking down. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's a very human experience to feel insecure. I think it's about not getting like stuck in that and having that like entirely dictate your actions. Fisherman's Friend or Okifea. I don't know what that is. There's I know they make there's a lot of like mechanics like branded stuff that's like for mechanics hand and like yard working hands. We have strap-ons for that. I guess so. I don't want to presume what physical activities will or will not be taking place in that experience, but maybe it's like, you know, men would have more experience doing this, or, you know, something he might find like men's bodies more physically attractive than mine, whatever. But, you know, the factual reality says they want to have sex with you. That's, you know, then they're attracted to you. So we can choose to focus on the facts of the reality, or we can choose to focus on a theoretical like scenario where they're lying about being attracted to you and being into you. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that because I exclusively associate strap-ons with I guess lesbian relationships is maybe the best way to say it. All right. I'm going to move on to some other questions, but I'll keep an eye out in case we have anything else from Anders. And I'll keep kind of thinking in the background on like the insecurity thing, because that's like a whole can of worms. Question: given the high odds of finding a match on a vanilla dating site, would you say going to Munches, or they said Munchies, but it's Munches, being part of the community is a better option than dating apps? For finding a kink relationship, yes, going in person to a community event is always going to give you a better chance than going on a vanilla dating app website. Yes, you can find people on places like OkCupid or Field, etc. But even like there's so much room for what that can mean, especially on a dating app. Like my experience is you get a lot of guys who say they're kinky, but then you talk to them for like a couple of messages and then you find out, oh, when they say kink, what they mean is like this very different experience than what I'm looking for. Or especially like more recently, like on Hinge specifically, Hinge full of submissive men. I don't know what it is about Hinge. It's the dating app for submissive men. So if you're looking for a subby man, go to Hinge. But when I'm vague about just saying I'm kinky, if for some reason on Hinge specifically, people assume that I might possibly like be a dominant woman, which is not the case, much to their disappointment, I'm sure. But when you're in the community or going to events, especially if you're going to particular events, like you're going to a pet play night, you're going to a femdom event, whatever, you're going to know that people at that event are into that specific kink, or and into kink enough to be in the community. Now, if you're just looking for like, you know, a hookup or a bedroom only thing, dating apps would be great for that. But if you want like a relationship, if you want to be in a lifestyle with someone, if you want to have a DS relationship with them, meeting someone in the community is going to give you a lot better chance, I think, of finding that than, you know, seeing 10,000 people on a dating app, finding 100 of them in your area that are kinky, finding 50 of them that are kinky on the right side of the slash, you know, opposite from you, and then the 5 that maybe have aligned kinks, and then the 2 that like are wanting the same kind of relationship style, are available, want to be in the community, you know, so on and so forth. Like it very quickly narrows down from a originally quite large pool to one that's not very big at all. Have you read Existential Kink by Carolyn Elliott? I have not, no. It sounds like the kind of book I would read and that I would like, though. Okay, let me get to, all right, I just went to the very bottom of the chat and then I lost my place. From Shay, and this is from way earlier. I followed another creator who's looking for a platform to talk about sex, provide educational content, and just tips. Any suggestions? They considered OnlyFans, but don't know if it's appropriate to use it for that. I mean, it would certainly be a novel use of OnlyFans. I don't think you would get, I guess it depends. If you want a place to upload videos where you show something more explicit, like an uncensored, realistic, like, sex doll, or, you know, an anatomically accurate model of, like, the vulva and a penis or something. Like, I think OnlyFans might be a good place to upload that. I find Vimeo as a uploading platform, but that's all you want it for, not like finding an audience to reach, but just to upload stuff. Vimeo's like pretty much doesn't care what's on their website, to be honest with you. At least, you know, knock on wood, for the time being, they're pretty much fine with whatever on there. But if you want to find an audience, I'm not sure OnlyFans would be the place to do it. I still think YouTube was probably the best. Or if your friend doesn't mind having to censor themselves a lot and kind of just like maybe tease content they have posted elsewhere, TikTok might be another way to do that. Instagram can work, but these days I feel like the Instagram sex educator market is like fairly saturated, because it's all like, these days it's all very text based. It's all like, I feel like it's very high effort, low reward on Instagram, because you have to make these very like aesthetic like text posts and like post every day to really get a lot of traction on there, especially with the amount of censorship that happens on there. I would probably go for TikTok. I'd probably also recommend YouTube and just re-upload the short content to TikTok, like from TikTok to YouTube. And then if you wanted to show stuff that's like more, you know, in the minds of social media, more vulgar, you know, more anatomically correct, or like, you know, not have to censor yourself, you could say, hey, you know, I have uncensored content on OnlyFans, and then people can go on there and maybe be disappointed that it's not, you know, actual sex acts happening. But I don't, you know, I don't know enough about OnlyFans as a user base, but my inclination is that they are probably not the kinds of people who are really looking for educational content primarily. But I don't know, maybe they like that. I don't know. Anything's possible, I guess. I have read Existential Kink, and I'm sorry to report I didn't like it. Ooh, wait, let me look this up. Existential Kink. I didn't spell that right. Unmask your shadow and embrace your power. A method for getting what you want by getting off on what you don't. Okay, that's confusing as a byline. Unmask your shadow and embrace your power. That is quite the title. All right, I definitely have had this in my to-read list on Amazon for a minute. So let's just, so everyone knows, let's read the little blurb here. A smart, sexy guide to embracing the repressed, tabooed. I've never heard a tabooed as in it's something has been tabooed, been made into a taboo, and often unwanted aspects of ourselves, so we can discover our inner power and finally live the life we deserve. We always get what we want, but often, though we may not be aware of it, what we most want is dark. Very dark. That's in quotes. I don't know who that quote is from. We always get exactly what we want, but often though what we want is mostly dark, very dark. Bold. What I want is to cuddle with my dog and eat popcorn. I don't know if that's particularly dark. Each of us has a dual nature. We are light, conscious, and dark, unconscious. The dark side of our personality, the other, the shadow side. Oh, this is like some Carolyn. I'm going to Google Carolyn Elliott. I'm going to find out that she's like a Jungian. Is made up of what we think are primitive, primal, negative impulses, our existential kink. Our existential kink also drives the darker, negative, repeating patterns in our life, always choosing the abusive partner or boss. That's right. We're gonna say people choose to be abused. Oh no, Carolyn, don't go there. Settling for less, thinking that we're undeserving, not worthy, but is also the source of our greatest power. An existential kink. Carolyn Elliott, PhD from, I don't know, DeVry University? I don't know why I'm shit talking Carolyn. I really shouldn't, but honestly, you'd be surprised what kinds of people get PhDs. She's an occultist. Oh, because she literally believes in like a physical like shadow self thing. Focuses on shadow integration as a means for positive. Oh, she's one of those people. It's like you have to integrate your shadow side. Yep, very Jungian, very New Age. Not my bag, as you can tell by the fact that I love DBT, and there's not a lot. Like I love internal family systems. I love some more kind of woo-woo, like less solidly grounded forms of therapeutic experiencing. But I am not sure I'm on this pathway. She attained a doctorate in critical and cultural studies at the University of Pittsburgh. Teaches occult philosophy. Okay, so she doesn't even have a psychology background. She has a cultural studies background. Did she? I can't. She has she went to Carnegie Mellon at some point, but I don't know what her degree's in. Okay, so she doesn't even really have a psychology background. She has some liberal arts degree. Okay, so that's interesting. But anyways, offers a truth-telling guide for bringing our shadow into the light, inviting us to make conscious the unconscious. Elliot asks us to own the subconscious pleasure we get from the stuck, painful patterns of our existence. Existential Kink provides practical advice and meditation so we can truly see our shadow sides, guilty pleasures, love and accept them, and integrate them into our whole being. By doing so, Elliot shows we bring to life the raw, hot, glorious power we all have to get what we really want in our lives. Okay, yeah, I'm not probably on board with that. But hey, if that's your thing, if that resonates with you, go for it. It's not my thing. Not really for me. That was it. You reminded me of what my big problem was. Yeah, it's like, oh, see, you actually choose to get into and I think it very far into the healing process from abuse. I think there is a point where in a safe space with like a trusted mental health provider, whatever, you can sit and ask yourself, what led me to invest into this relationship that became abusive in the first place, especially if it's like a life pattern where you tend to find them. Like, what were they offering me? What needs was I getting met by like engaging with this person who also was like damaging me in certain ways? Was it just the attachment? Was it being emotionally validated? Was it financial security? Was it feeling like I wasn't good enough for anything? Like, there are things that can draw somebody into an unhealthy relationship pattern. But that's when you phrase it the way that she did, it gets uncomfortably close to like, the reason you're getting abused is because you keep walking into relationships with abusive people, which is not like how that typically works. So yeah, yeah. Existential kink just makes me think of focusing on the concept of being bound instead of actually breaking out the rope. Yeah, it's like, it's an interesting thing, but also I'm not really sure how knowledgeable she is about kink to begin with. So there's like, I'm not sure how knowledgeable she is about psychology. I'm not sure how knowledgeable she actually is about BDSM. I don't know, Carol from Eve, I suppose. And like, hey, I think I'm not gonna bash Freud or Jung when they've already been bashed. I think they've contributed helpful ideas, but I think when you're telling people you're gonna what we all really want is very dark, I feel like is like I'm not sure about that actually, but different things will resonate to different people and resonate with different people, and that's okay. But it's not my thing. But I probably still read it just to see, because I think even within books that are like not my thing and are from a very different perspective, I can usually find little nuggets in them that are interesting, or that I can like take that idea and then apply in a framework and in a way that makes more sense to my brain. So I think, from a lens of just being an educator, I'd probably still read it, but I don't think I'd recommend that book over any other to somebody who wanted like help integrating their kink desires in a healthy way. I feel like just learning how to deal with guilt and shame, a la like Brene Brown or like through DBT, is probably better. Just for the average person, like doesn't really have a deep spiritual like occultist way of looking at things to begin with. I brought this up in therapy, and as someone with bipolar, I have a lot of empathy for people with problems and seem to be drawn to them romantically. I mean, yeah, that's like a big thing a lot of people go through. A lot of people that are more like helper type, or that they can relate to people, hey, I see you, I can see your struggle. Like definitely get drawn into unhealthy relationship patterns because there's that desire to help, or there's a desire to be like, hey, I see you, and it's, it brings value for a lot of people, to be the seer, to be the helper, and, to want to be with someone that is not always understood by others. But that's a whole other can of worms there. Also, plenty of kink can be just fun. You can flog the hell out of somebody in a very delightful, giddy way. Just depends. Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? Is like, kink is the dark part of our shadow expression. Is that true for some people? Sure. Is some part of that true for a lot of people? Possibly even yes. But I think a lot of kink is just like, I think it's funny when my friends dress up as clowns and hit me with rubber chickens. And I think that's all it had. Like, it's like a joy. I think perpetuating this idea that like kink is this dark thing that like is our deepest shadow self and wanting to be expressed is like, that's a limiting way of looking at kink. I think kink can also be this very like joyful, fun thing. And maybe the argument is that like, well, if it's joyful for you, it's because you've incorporated that part of your shadow self. So you've actually been doing this work already, and that's why you find it fun. Like maybe that's the angle on that. I'm kind of just guessing at this point, but I think kink can also just be directly fun, just for the sake of fun. It doesn't have to be like the dark inner part of my soul. Like it's like, yeah. Thank you. She is adorable. She's like very snoozy. Hi, girlie. Just had to check on you. You were so still. All right, she's good. She looks like so, I don't even know how to describe it. She's just who she is, and she's radically herself, and I love that for her. All right. Oh my goodness. And as Evie has noted a lot of the time, the welcome to my darkest desires, these photos represent the shadows of my demons I face. It's just hot women having oral sex in different ways. That is also a factor too, especially if it's being presented like, this is the darkest part of who I am. And then it's just like a woman giving me head, but then she wears handcuffs while she does it, which like, hey, that's valid, but it's kind of funny that that's taken as like the pinnacle of darkness. Like, is it? Do we need to have everything be the pinnacle of darkness? Can we just like be normal about it? Oh my goodness, just so funny. So many different ways of looking at the world. I like to think they do when my cat slow blinks. It's like a smile. Oh, true. Yeah, that's right. Cats do. I know. Oh, we're getting up. We're moving. We're on the move. Could you be any closer to the camera today, Bandita? Could you be any closer? Red alert, she moved. Everyone. It's like permanently having a live feed of like the panda exhibit at the zoo. Everyone's like, oh no, they got water. Let's see what happens. It can be happiness, but it can also be panting or tension, basically not indicative. Oh yeah, that's true. Honestly, I think if I had to guess what pet more kinky people have, I think it's probably cats. I think cats are more common amongst kinky folk. But also, I live in Portland, and apparently Portland has one of the like highest percentages of cat owners in America. So maybe I'm just falsely seeing a correlation where there's not actually one. Do you like... I'm going to answer this one right now because this is a pressing question for the ages. Do you like potatoes? If so, what is your fave potato form? I love potatoes. And I was literally thinking about this earlier today, how I don't have potatoes, so that means I can't make potatoes for dinner tonight. I really like mashed potatoes. I gotta be honest with you. I do. If we're looking at the pinnacle form of a potato, like the ultimate S-tier version of a potato object, a potato skin, a really good potato, like an S-tier potato skin, is probably the best, but the best across the board on average that I can make reliably, that I enjoy regularly, is mashed potatoes. I just think, you know, it can be elevated, it can be fancy, it can be very plain, and it pretty much works with whatever else you want to have for dinner as like the carb option with the dinner meal. I'm a mashed potato girly through and through. I don't like scallop potatoes. Scallop potatoes, F tier. F tier scallop potatoes. Don't like them. Basically not even the worst part of potatoes. They're just soggy. They're just soggy. French fries are pretty good. French fries are pretty good, but I think mashed potatoes, they're like satisfying. Like, are French fries tasty? Yes. Are they like, but I feel like mashed potatoes are like satisfying. They have that satiety to them. Like they have a level of satiety that simply cannot be offered by a French fry. I usually make my mashed potatoes with vegan butter. Sometimes I'll do a little bit of oat milk if it needs to be thinned. Yukon Gold potatoes, or if it's like a summertime thing, I will do mini red potatoes, but one of those two. And then usually some combination based on what I already have in my fridge of either vegan sour cream, vegan cream cheese, and then usually a good amount of salt, not too much. I'm not a big salt girly. Definitely got to have black pepper. Maybe some chives if I have some, and I'm going to use them for something else. And paprika. The end. That's my list. There's actually, I found a really good like make-ahead mashed potato recipe that I feel like had a really good ratio of everything in it. But usually I tend to go, I like to make things like uber fancy. 110% on scalloped potatoes. Literally, if I wanted to do a humiliation scene or a torture scene involving eating food, I would make scalloped potatoes as part of that scene. I have never had, I've gone to restaurants and had scalloped potatoes, and they still haven't been good, so. Not a vegan, so I'm not sure. Do you have vegan butter for your mashed potatoes? Yes. So I make everything. I mean, I don't know how easy the options are to find, but there's vegan butter, vegan cream cheese, vegan sour cream, all that stuff. I know some people that are vegan are against the processed stuff and they just have coconut oil for everything, but I don't mind the processed stuff. It's all fine. All good and gravy for me. Oh no, those are what we would call Hasselback potatoes. The sliced ones that are deep fried and like they're like it's a whole potato and it's sliced and then it's like fried or baked. That's a Hasselback potato. Scallop potatoes are like peeled potatoes that are like cut in like almost like a potato chip shape, and then usually has gravy on it, and it's like, I don't know, not great. Not a great option. Yeah, red potatoes, Gouda, smoked paprika, and sour cream. Yeah, if you can get, I don't usually put cheese in mine because I don't like love vegan cheese, but paprika. Gotta have the paprika in there, especially if you're doing the red potatoes. It's good stuff. I love the box scallop potatoes. Listen, I'm not going to yuck your yum. I'm glad that you like the box scallop potatoes, but it's not my thing. Potatoes are life. This potato question has me wondering what your favorite form of pasta is. I'm not a pasta girly most of the time. I'm not a big spaghetti girly. I think if I had to, like, I do like macaroni and cheese. Shape of pasta I like the best, because I think that's a whole other question. I think it's cavapati? It's the curly one that's got the texture on the outside. Yes. Cavatappi? Maybe it's cavatappi. I don't know. Cavatappi. Whatever that one is. It's like a corkscrew and it's got some texture on the outside. That one's my favorite shape of pasta. I like macaroni and cheese because I'm basic. And probably tortellini. As like a pasta dish, I like the best. I like a good tortellini. I don't ever have it. I basically only have tortellini or ravioli if I'm making dinner for somebody else who's not vegan, and they make their own ravioli. They get their own regular ravioli, and then I can make mine, and then we can have the same dish. But I haven't done that in a long time. But I don't really eat a lot of pasta. I actually had macaroni and cheese for dinner last night, but I don't have it. I have it very sparingly outside of that. But I'm not generally like a regular pasta eater. I tend to just like mix together a lot of hot vegetables and then put sauce on them. So I don't even know if I can call it a stir fry. Mac and cheese is S tier comfort foods. Yeah, or just comfy foods even. Yeah. We call cavapati Scooby-Doo. That makes sense. I see it. I believe you on that one. Did I move, baby? All is well. Do not worry. You have a worried look on your face. That is not necessary. All is okay. You may return to snoozes. She has a look on her face when she's deciding whether or not she can keep snoozing again. Yes, she has decided to keep snoozing. Tortellini with pesto and sausage is a regular staple for me. Oh, with sausage. Interesting. I've only ever had it with red sauce. I've never even tried it with a different kind of sauce before. Pasta dishes are my favorite food. Ooh. Bucatini might be my top tier spaghetti noodle. Bucatini. Bucatini, what is that? Oh, I do like noodle kugel. I've had that. I made that a couple times. I made a vegan kugel before. Oh, it has a. I didn't even know you could make that. It's like a long mini ziti. I don't like ziti. I don't like ziti dishes. I've made stuffed shells before, like once or twice for like this is like an easy like potluck dish thing. And those have been okay. I don't think I've ever seen that even in like a supermarket before. But to be honest, I don't really dwell in the pasta section. Interesting. The world of pasta is so vast. The world of pasta. Who would have guessed? Yep, false alarm. Maybe she's back to snoozy mode. She knows what's up. She's like, all right, we got another 20 minutes left. We're going to go. I love pasta, potatoes, and rice. They go so well with many other things. No wonder they're the top staples. I gotta be honest, you know when you see the thing where it's like, one of these has to go, and like the options are like pasta, bread, rice, and potatoes. I pretty much always pick rice or pasta to go. Because I feel like there's enough. Like I can do quinoa. You know, I can do other things. I can do chickpea pasta. I can make things work. Sheet pan dinner? Oh yeah. Baby carrots, baby taters. Taters. I don't know if we're calling them taters. It's funny to me. Cherry tomatoes and broccoli. Olive oil and seasoning. Roast until done. Yep. Exactly. It's a pretty regular meal. As in, it occurs frequently. Not that it's like normal, I guess. I don't know how many people do that. I do mow the lawn in a maid outfit. Well, I'm glad somebody does. I don't think that there's a way to do a yearly subscription. I wish there was, though. I don't know if that's a setting I can enable. I don't think you can, because YouTube is woefully behind what every other website offers as a feature. If you got a high privacy fence, sexy mowing could be a thing. I like how everyone is like, we can make mowing work as a sex thing. Like, with the power of our brains combined, we can make sexy mowing a possibility for kink. Never let anyone say that we're boring. Unless you're Hank Hill, and then just mowing in general is always sexy. I need to watch King of the Hill more. I've seen a couple episodes, but I haven't actually sat down and watched it. It seems like it's probably held up in the test of time. Gets sploosh up, he gets boing, it's constant. Exactly. Okay. Could I get, I just love the way this is phrased. Could I get the most basic pitch on why to do sexting? I recently got into a long distance relationship, I assume, but my experience so far is an attempt to play along with a super unfunny joke. Partner doesn't know why, but loves. I just cuts off after that, so I don't know. On why to do sexting. Okay, it's funny because actually I was thinking about this earlier today. Like, what happened to sexting? Do people still sext? I don't know. Do they still do that? You can't even get yearly premium. Oh, like YouTube premium? Yeah, they want to be able to jack up the price whenever they want. They're the equivalent of a landlord that only does month-to-month leases because they want to be able to jack up the rent multiple times a year. That's what YouTube does. Yeah, there's no way to get yearly memberships. That is very sad. But why to do sexting? I'm kind of asking the wrong girl. I mean, I've enjoyed sexting before in the past. I've especially when I was younger. It was, especially long distance relationships that can happen. I think the why to do sexting is because it keeps the sexual dynamic of the relationship going, even when you're separated from each other. As far as how to do it effectively, that's a whole other thing. And I think, if it's not for you, maybe like recording audio clips works better than texting. Maybe it's not about having a fantasy scenario that you play it and role play together. Maybe it's about describing what you're masturbating to or like things like that. Maybe that works better than trying to just like role play back and forth with someone. I guess I assume that sexting is like back and forth, like sexual role play / teasing about a thing that's about to happen. And that is something I don't know how often people do. I feel like it was something that used to be something people did a lot more. And I'm not sure that people do as much, but maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe people just don't talk about it as much anymore as like a thing. Nothing better than surprising your partner with a boob text. I mean, I would not randomly send somebody a photo of any genital part or of boobs or nipples for that matter, just because you never know when somebody's gonna open up a message in like a meeting by accident, or being next to their member of the clergy or something. You just want to be careful with that. But I think it's okay to be like, hey, I'm thinking about you, can I send you a pic? And then like winky emoji, fire emoji. Like, I think there's a way to like indicate what you want subtly without like having to be like, can I send you a picture of my dick? Like you can be a little flirtier about it than that. But she asked me for voice clips as well. Important to note. Oh, okay. So she wants stuff. So she wants stuff from you, and she wants to sext, and you're like, I'm not getting it. This is not my thing necessarily. I had to keep that question in word limit, but it should be understandable. Okay, I see. You can also do, if you can't fit it in one message, you can also definitely, just put like 1 out of 2 or whatever, and then continue it somewhere else if you feel like you need to. Attempt to play along with a super unfunny joke. I think, if you're not into sexting, if that's not your thing, that's also okay. You can just, hopefully, and I know long distance is hard, you can also tell your partner, hey, I get that this is important to you, but this isn't really doing anything for me. If there's anything that you feel like you would like that would work for you, you can propose that. But if it's not your thing, you shouldn't feel obligated to, play along with something, because I feel like ultimately that's more hurtful, because if you're not into it at all and you can't make it work and it's not your thing, if you're just playing along with it, they're going to find that out eventually, and it's going to be hurtful to them. They're like, what do you mean you faked it? I thought you liked it when we did this. But yeah. I want it to be when he's in a meeting. Well, yeah, it's a risk we take. If that's in your risk profile, that's the thing that people can do. But yeah, I guess if anyone else has any other reasons for why sexting is enjoyable, I think it's mostly about just keeping up the sexual rapport and letting your partner know that you're thinking about them and that you're sexually interested in them. And I think that is probably the underlying motivation for most people. But I think it's about finding the style of it that works, whether it's voice messages, talking about real things that are happening, just, if something comes up that reminds you of a person or a scenario you were in, oh, I watched this thing and it reminded me of when we did this or whatever, that I think can work better for people than just role playing. Yeah. Hopefully that helped. You're welcome. But if anyone else has anything to share, I highly recommend contributing. It's also not impossible to take a classy dick pic, so go for a more full body shot if possible. That's also a good point. If you are taking a selfie of your penis, it's pretty much impossible to make that look decent. I prefer platonic nudes. Yeah. I don't want anything sexy. I just want to be able to be hey, here's my workout progress. When my boyfriend and I were long distance, we did phone sex, but not much sexting. Oh yeah, that's another option too, phone sex. I feel like if you're not into voice note stuff, maybe that wouldn't be an option that would work, but it may also feel more organic than texting back and forth. I have a long distance friend that I mostly just sex with, LOL. I might hook up with if I ever drive 17 hours to Oklahoma to see her. Honestly, I also feel like that's the tease of sexting is a big thing for people too. We could never really act on this. So we can kind of safely, it's like flirting. It's basically at that point, sexting is flirting with someone who's not available, which can be dangerous if you're flirting with married people at your workplace, but you can do it in a more, less risky way, actually, I guess. You could do it in a less risky way where you're flirting with someone long distance, where you're basically building up this sexual tension that you can't ever release until you maybe release it with somebody else, or do other things to satisfy those urges. And I think that can be fun too in its own way, but you have to be okay with a lot of denial if that's the way you're gonna go. Can we get a bandit question emote? I will put that on the list. I do have one of me with a notebook, but we could also definitely do one where she's cocked her head to the side, is has a question mark. Isn't breathplay dangerous? It is. It is dangerous, and people are doing it left, right, and center. Apparently, my God, they just can't stop choking each other. They just can't stop themselves. It just keeps happening. Oh goodness. Sometimes you want to know if your ass or your tits look good from a trusted friend. Exactly. You're like, hey, how do I look? What's going on? I need a punishment for a masochist that is not just ignore him. Do you have any suggestions? Oh boy, do I have suggestions. I love making people do annoying shit. That's my favorite thing to tell other people to do. Actually, oh my gosh. Get ready for this. It depends on if they like service or not. So if they don't like service, this will probably work as a punishment, but I got this as a very random gift, I think for Christmas. And this you use on carpets and on furniture, like soft furniture, to remove lint and pet hair. And if you have a big enough house and enough carpet, if you just make them use this, it could take them hours to clean the carpet, especially if you're demanding they be very thorough with it. But if they like service, then service-based things, tasks may not work, but I pretty much everyone has something they don't like doing for service, whether it's like organizational stuff, cleaning the toilets, scrubbing the floors with a toothbrush, having to do something like this, or, intentionally making something really difficult, like spilling a bunch of rice on the floor and making them pick up every single grain with like a pair of chopsticks or with a pair of tweezers or something that's very monotonous. Some people are going to be really into that, but other people are going to hate it. Or you can also make them do service things that are also physically uncomfortable for them, like amp it up by making it something that also adds an element of discomfort, right? Like you can have them do service activities while like you've put like icy hot on their genitals. You can make them do service stuff while they've like got some kind of piece of uncomfortable clothing on them, or you've put like them in some kind of like coconut rope bondage under their clothing. You could have them do service while they're like wearing wet socks. That's a very popular one for people because that's just like so uncomfortable. They have to keep the wet socks on until they're done doing whatever monotonous task they're doing. It could be anything like that. It just brings an element of discomfort on top of the boring activity and like makes it just that much more torturous to do. But that's usually what I go for if somebody is a masochist. I find masochists tend to not like service, and service people tend to not like masochism as much. It's not a hard and fast rule, but people tend to prefer one or the other. I already have them cleaning bathrooms with a toothbrush. That looks interesting. Yeah, I don't know what this is called. This is just like a carpet rake, like a carpet cleaner. So now you can move on to the bathroom to doing the whole rest of the house. Like if you have a good set of stairs, could be using this for a while. You can also, again, use it on furniture. You can use it on clothing, too, I think. I haven't used it on clothing, so I don't know how well it works for that. But I get all kinds of pet hair out of the floor with this. So much pet hair. And all like, the couch and stuff, too. Just anything else I would do that's, like, servicey, that's, like, unpleasant. That would, like, take a lot of time to do. I'm like not thinking of anything from the top of my head. Wet socks, and I thought butt plugs were out there. Exactly. Hopefully that gives you some stuff to work with. I'm not a dom, but I am a sadist, and I do say that I'm a sadist, so that's not a secret. I am sadistic. I like giving people terrible ideas, but the way that I get my sadistic needs met is I just give people terrible ideas, and then they do them, and then I feel happy. I am the evil assistant. That is my role as a sadist. I am the evil assistant. Allow me to come up with terrible ideas. You can execute them. You can do the scene. I just want to be satisfied by the fact that I helped. That's essentially what it comes down to. I would like it to be a little bit pain-based, but not spanking, etc. Oh, you can definitely do like thumbtacks. I know people will do like thumbtack inserts into underwear, or you can get, I don't know if you do any kind of like forced femme stuff, but you can like have them like wear a bra with like pads that have like thumbtacks in them. And then it's just like a little constant reminder of pain. Or Legos, you put Legos on the ground. So you can have them walk on Legos while they're doing the task. You can do other pain-based things. Anything else that's like an easy pain-based thing that you can do while you're doing other activities. I feel like it has to be something that's wearable. I can never remember how to pronounce this, but there is an old Catholic thing, and I think it's a Silas. I think it's a Silas. It's I think there's a website. There's they're more popular in Europe than over here in the States as a kink thing. There you go. There's a Silas. That's like a fun thing you can have someone wear during any activity, but also during punishments. I'm slowly starting to find joy in submissive sadism. Oh yeah, there's a whole world there. I'm impressed by the imagination you display, Evie. It scares me a smidge. I've just seen a lot. I've seen a lot of scenes. I've been to a lot of conventions, taken a lot of classes, done a lot of stuff. And once you realize that any physical activity is something that you can include in a kink potentially, the whole world opens up with possibilities. All right, 5-minute warning, y'all. Get your questions in now or be forced to wait until next week to be able to do more questions and answers. Just tuning in, new to kink, but would you care to elaborate on the psychological aspect of it? Also ex-Catholic here, cheers. Might be a little bit much to answer in the last 5 minutes here. This is Jake. How to elaborate on the psychological aspect of kink. I almost want to say, like, in what way? I feel like kink is, like, almost implicitly psychological. Like, kink is psychological in the sense, I feel like I've been given a really hard essay prompt. I feel like I need a noodle on this one, maybe a little bit more. I'll get to another question and I'll get back to this one if I have time. How about that? Oh, a hair suit or a hair shirt? Yep, you can also do that too. Oh, spiky acupressure circle things won't break the skin as easily as thumbtacks or push pins. That's a great idea. That's a great one. I forgot about those. Oh, yeah, no, if I didn't get to your question from earlier, definitely copy and paste it now, and I'll try my best to get to it before we get to the end. Oh, I almost broke my nail trying to catch a cat hiding behind the goods on the shelf at the organic store today. Cats will cause us a lot of small discomforts, but they are always fun. That's a great way of summarizing cats. Oh no, Alana, I'm sorry. I've been sick for a couple days because I ate oats and my body doesn't like that. Yep. I don't experience that, but I know people who do. Not with oats though, with rice, and peas and peppers. any pea words. Not a fan of that apparently. Like as someone who has just gone to the first Kink 101 event, would you advise avoiding an edge play event until they dip their toes in a bit more, even if newcomers are welcomed? I think it depends on what you are comfortable seeing other people do. If you went to your first event and you felt comfortable seeing naked people and seeing people do scenes, like hearing screaming and all that stuff, I think you would be okay going to an edge play event. I think some people need more of a ramp up period to feel comfortable being around that if ever they end up being, into that themselves, because it's psychologically difficult for some people to hear like screaming or seeing crying, or even just seeing other people naked. That can take a long time to be comfortable with. But if you're already like okay with that level, you might be okay going to a bigger edge play event where you're going to be seeing more intense things. And then just, remembering that you don't have to stay if you don't want to. You don't have to stay and look at any scenes if you don't feel comfortable. You can go somewhere else. You can go to a different room. You can just leave altogether. And I think just reminding yourself that you are in control of the situation insofar as you're interacting with it, I think that will be okay. Most edge play nights, like they can be intense, but they're probably not going to be anything too wild. Like it's probably going to see blood. You're probably going to see some like heavier impact play. Might see some whips, for example. But you're probably not going to see anything that's like, like waterboarding or somebody like getting their skin flayed off them, or like, you're not going to see anything that's like super different necessarily from a general night, other than like intensity level overall. Ooh, pain-based equal wear a ginger powder coated ointment on an anal toy. Would that work? Would that would the gingerol be active in a powdered form enough for that to produce a sensation? I would say you can certainly put ginger oil on a butt plug, and like if you put it on put ginger oil, like cut a piece of ginger, rub it on. I can't believe I'm recommending this. Cut a piece of ginger. Get one that's juicy, good juicy piece of ginger. Rub that on a glass butt plug, some kind of insertable, and then put that up there, and then you will have an experience. But also be prepared to very quickly take out the glass plug if you're going to go that route. Ways to recover when a DS relationship ends in an ugly way. Ooh, I get to recommend this book again. read this. It's been oddly relevant recently. Toxic Relationship Recovery by Jamie Mahler. This is a vanilla book. Unfortunately, there is not a kink guide as of yet to recovering from a relationship, but this is my recommendation. As you can see, I love bookmarks, got lots of bookmarks in here. And the reason why I recommend this book is because half of it is understanding why the relationship was messy, if it was messy to begin with. And then the second half of the book, which is probably more relevant for you if the relationship itself wasn't toxic, but the ending of it was messy, is like how to move on from a toxic relationship and like how to recover from that mentally and how to build yourself up afterwards. So it could just be that the second half is more relevant if the relationship itself was like otherwise healthy, but it just ended in a messy way. But most of the time, if the way it ended was messy, it was probably a messy relationship at some level. So this is what I recommend if you want something to read. That's a good resource. It's a really good book. And again, it's Toxic Relationship Recovery by Jamie Mahler. I started reading this after I saw it on your Instagram story. Oh, good. I hope it was helpful. Okay, thank God. Thanks, Evie. You're very welcome. But other than that, this is sort of my general advice for DS specifically. I don't know if you were the dom or the sub in that relationship, if it ended messily. Again, I have this out, so I guess I'll just reference it again. This is more or less what I was going to say in the first place, but now I get to, I think this is literally the middle of the book, but I'm not saying, this is not necessarily applied just romantic love, but any kind of deep connection you have with someone. But when you're going through a breakup, you gotta do opposite actions for love because it is now inappropriate to be in love with that person. That could also be platonic love, doesn't, it could be just deep emotional feelings in general. Avoid contact. So remove everything that reminds you of that person that you used to love. Pictures, letters, messages, belongings, mementos, places you were together, places you planned to be or wanted to be together, so on and so forth. Stop expressing love for the person, even to friends. Be unfriendly towards them. Don't be connected on social media. Don't be in the same Discord chat, whatever. And then if you're physically around them, don't do physical expressions of love. So this is essentially the advice of this is like, this is when you disconnect and find your own path again. That's for you, right? So it's not based on the other person. So this is the advice I normally give for like breakups is like how to make a breakup less messy. It's very painful, but the best way to do a breakup is to not be in constant contact with the person that you broke up with, especially if it didn't go well. Have a clean break. It's going to be real fucking painful for a couple days, okay? But it's going to be all over at once. So don't talk to them, remove mementos, disconnect on social media, and then focus on finding other positive things that you can do to like fill your time, right? Like I think this is definitely a time for, finding ways to be distracted and finding fun things to do, right? Going to farmers markets, watching a movie, hanging out with other friends. Usually the thing I like to say is get back to old hobbies that you gave up on or didn't get to do as much because of the relationship. If you had to give up, pottery classes or dancing or going to the gym. Also, physical activity in general is really good for your brain. So if you can find a way to be physically active, even if it's just like taking walks, that can be helpful too. Yeah. She's definitely being excessively cute. But yeah, find positive things to do. I think reconnecting to your community is really important. Finding support from friends. Maybe not like dumping on them about the breakup or anything, but just like being around them, spending time with other people, taking the energy you had for that DS attachment and putting that energy into new attachments or reviving old attachments that maybe you weren't paying as much attention to because of the relationship. And ultimately that's going to be what is most healing in the long term, because maintaining that attachment connection of, talking every day, being together physically, kind of almost like acting like you're not really broken up, that's going to make the ultimate ending of it worse because it just is worse. Because it maintains, the longer you maintain that connection, the harder it is. All right, I'm going to try to get to, did I write a book? I didn't write a book, but I read lots of books. I could write a book at some point. Haven't yet, though. Just a note to say thank you. My wife and I started our kink journey by watching your videos. Help with rules and communication. Also help with how to interact, i.e. as a dom and sub. Well, you are so welcome, Sean. Thank you for sharing. Oh, now I know what the subject is. This is a good reminder to finish my DBT book too. Yeah, I mean, even this, like this isn't DBT cards or is just, you know, opposite action. I know that there's probably one for love that's quick and easy to get to. But I think, with that being said, readers are leaders. I've never heard that before, but I believe it. But on that note, it's going to be it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for being here on this beautiful Friday and spending some time with me. Thank you so much to all of the new members who now get to use our wonderful, fantastic, delightful, beautiful emotes. It is a beautiful way to spend Friday, to be with all of y'all. But I gotta feed my puppery now, so we gotta go. She's basically just waiting. She's just waiting for dinner to happen. Hi, my lovely. How are you, snoozy girl? Do we want you to come over here, or do we want to stay there? She's looking at me like, I'm not moving, lady. She's like, we went on a very long walk today. She is probably very tuckered out. Definitely huge thank you. You already showed, you showed us that YouTube would be okay with sharing this type of information. You rock. You are so welcome. Thank you. No judgment, but I wasn't expecting to hear about flaying. Well, like, I give it that as an extreme example of something you're not going to see. I have seen hook pulls a couple times, but only in very controlled settings. It's not going to be something that you're going to see. I just don't know what people expect to see during an edge play night, so I'm trying to set up boundaries. You're probably just going to see like whips, maybe some blood, maybe some needles, which sort of is also blood, and just heavier impact play, probably some more screaming, probably some wrestling. That's usually the wheelhouse for average edge play night. But she is fully in hedgehog mode. All right, good night, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully I'll see you next Friday, and I will see you all again soon. Bye! Normally when I say it, she fully gets up. But, oh yeah, I heard that little, yeah, now you know. Now you know what's up, baby. Now you know it's time for dinner, huh? All right. She's awake. We are getting foods. We will talk to you all later. Bye.